It's time to live your stronger life. Hey, I'm Sammy, physio coach and nutritionist, and your hype girl for creating your stronger life. Here, we ditch the quick fixes and build real strength inside and out. So whether you're here to tone up, drop the body fat, build muscle, mental resilience, or ditch the diet culture, or just feel bloody good in your skin, you're in the right place. So let's get into it. So if eating less was the answer to fat loss, then the women eating the least would be getting the best results, right? But that is not what we see, is it? What I actually see day in and day out is women eating as little as possible, running themselves into the ground, feeling exhausted and miserable, and still not losing fat. Or they lose it for a little bit, and then they hit a wall, and then they put it back on again. And then when they finally come to me, the first thing they want to do is cut even more, because that's what we've been told our whole lives, right? Less food, more exercise, push harder. But what if that approach is actually the reason that you're still stuck? Well, today I want to explain exactly why eating too little is actually working against you, and why for so many women, eating a little bit more is going to be the thing that finally makes your fat loss click. Okay, so first of all, I want you to understand something about your body. Your body is not the enemy. It is just incredibly smart. And when you slash your calories way down, your body notices, and it does not like it. Your body likes to stay at homeostasis, which means it likes to stay in a nice, stable environment, such as when you're hot, you sweat to cool yourself down. When you're cold, you shiver to heat yourself back up. The body is constantly adapting the thermostat of every single part of you, your blood pressure, your blood volume, how much water you have in your body. That's why there's water and salt manipulation, the pH levels in your blood. Every single thing is constantly ebbing and flowing. Hunger and satiety, like I could literally go on. All things are constantly working backwards and forwards to try and keep you in a state of homeostasis. And this is exactly what being in a calorie deficit is pulling your body out of a homeostasis, and the body is going to be fighting back to try and get back to its middle ground safe zone. So being in a calorie deficit is a stress on the body. It is a necessary stress if the goal is fat loss, because you do need to be in a deficit to lose fat, but it is still a stress nonetheless. And so what does your body do when it's stressed? It adapts, which in some cases is a very good thing. How else are you going to get stronger and build muscle? It adapts to the stress of exercise, and it goes, oh man, that was a really heavy weight and I do not want to struggle through that weight again. So I'm going to make sure I'm stronger so the next time I do it, I'm better at it. It adapts over time. It adapts to everything that we put it on. So when we're in a calorie deficit, it starts to trying to conserve energy, because energy coming in is low. So it wants to try and keep you alive. And this is where it gets interesting, because this is where most women, they picture metabolism as this one big thing, like you either have a fast one or a slow one. But your total energy burn every single day is made up of so much more than that. And yes, there is your basal metabolic rate, which is like what most women will think of as their metabolism. And this is the calories your body burns just to keep you alive, breathing, heart beating, organs functioning. You're in a coma in bed, and that's the amount of calories that you need just to be alive. That's your basal metabolic rate. But then there's everything else. There's your workouts, your digestion, and then there's just you moving about. And this one is the biggest one that most people sleep on, is moving about, your non-exercise activity, the walking, the fidgeting, the energy you spend just moving through the day. And when you're eating too little, that last one, the non-purposeful exercise, that's the biggest one to start tanking. You start moving less without even realizing it. You sit more, you fidget less, you take the lift instead of the stairs, you skip the walk to get a coffee, you just slow down. Your body is doing this on purpose. It is dialing back your output to match your input. And what that means is your actual deficit gap is also shrinking, even though you're still eating the same amount of food. You also feel it in the gym. Your training's going to suffer. You're not lifting as heavy. You're not pushing as hard. Your sessions feel awful because, well, you're running on empty. So the very thing that's supposed to help you, the calorie deficit, well, the extreme restriction, is quietly undoing itself. And that is one reason why the progress stops progressing. Another one, your hunger hormones are going to go haywire. So let's talk about what happens in your head and in your tummy. When you're eating too little for an extended period of time, your hunger hormones also go out of whack. So ghrelin, your hunger hormone, starts rising. It's basically screaming at you to eat something. And you think it's willpower. It is not your willpower. It is literally your body screaming at you going, hey sis, we are hungry. We need more food. There is not enough fuel coming into the system. And the longer that you go, the harder the restriction, the longer you go, the louder ghrelin is going to start screaming at you. And so then what's going to happen? You start eating more than you think to try and counteract that subconsciously. Little bits here and there, handful there. You taste something while cooking. You have a few too many crackers because you're starving every afternoon. Your tracking gets a little bit loose. You start eyeballing portions. You forget to log that thing. Or, and this is a really common one, you're so hungry and so low on energy that you just eat way more than you intended, way more than if you'd just been eating enough in the first place. And I have had so many women come to me who've been stuck in this cycle for years. They go super duper low with their calories and then they crack, they feel like they've failed, they restrict, they crack, they repeat over and over and over again. And they often think, I just am not disciplined enough to be in a calorie deficit. But that's not the actual issue here. The issue is that you are trying to do something that is so much more extreme than what is necessary. And it is really bloody challenging to stay consistent with something that is super restrictive and extreme. But when you're eating in a deficit that's actually sustainable, I mean, not sustainable for the rest of your life, but sustainable long enough to see results, you're not just making this journey miserable and ravenous. You actually are able to start staying consistent over the weeks and, maybe the 2 to 3 months that you are in a dieting phase before coming back up to maintenance, because you're not going to stay in your dieting phase forever. But that's why we want to take a more sustainable approach, because you're not constantly fighting your own body and your hormones screaming back at you. Another one, you might be losing muscle. This one is big and not enough women are understanding this. If you are eating way too little and you are not strength training, and I'm not talking little 3 kilo dumbbells, I'm not talking about Pilates, I mean proper strength training, or if you're doing some little dumbbells but you're not training anywhere near with enough intensity, pushing those muscles close enough to failure, there is a real chance that a significant chunk of the weight that you're losing is actually muscle, not just fat. I'm talking your muscle, which is why ladies sometimes when they finish their fat loss journey, they feel floppier and not tight and toned like they were hoping for. And why else does this matter? Because muscle is metabolically active. It's a tissue that will burn through energy at rest. It contributes to your metabolism. And so the more muscle that you have, the more calories you're going to burn at rest. Yes, it's not a huge amount that's like hundreds of calories, but it all does add up. And it also is one of the best ways to help process glucose in the body, so your blood glucose level. So it helps you to process carbohydrates as well, because your muscles are going to eat up all those carbohydrates and use it for energy. So when you lose muscle, you're literally making it harder to keep losing fat and to keep maintaining your body fat down the track. When most women come and they say, my body just doesn't work the way that it used to, it is 100% because you've lost muscle, because you've gotten older. You lose muscle just by getting older when you're not rapidly trying to maintain it or grow it. You're just naturally going to lose muscle. So if you 30 to 40 years old, you're losing muscle. So yes, of course it feels different because your body is different because you've lost all this muscle. And then also as you lose more weight, you're losing more muscle. It makes your weight loss journey even harder along the way. And then often it makes it really easy to put all the muscle back, all the body fat back on. You get a big rebound effect. And also, like I mentioned, you're going to feel soft, you're going to feel skinny fat. You just don't have the definition that you're after. If you tell me that your goal is to tone up and then you say, but I'm not lifting weights, I'm going to be like, dude, you can't. That doesn't make any sense. It's like you want to learn how to drive, but you just refuse to get into a car. Like it just doesn't make any sense. So this is why lifting weights is actually a non-negotiable in my programs. It's not optional, it's a non-negotiable, because we need to make sure we are building muscle. Otherwise, we're just going to keep rapidly losing it. And protecting and building muscle is what gives you shape and what gives you tone, and also keeps you healthy and functioning for a very, very long time in life. And when you're in an aggressive deficit without enough training stimulus, your body will sacrifice muscle the energy before anything else. So you're fighting on multiple fronts at once. Your output is lower because your body is adapting. Your deficit is less than you think because you're losing track of things, because you're always starving and hungry. And you're potentially losing muscle that's also hurting your metabolism and ending up with worse results at the end. So when you put all these three things together, it becomes clear why extreme restriction just doesn't work, and it actively backfires, and why you get stuck in this yo-yo spiral. Okay, so why does eating more actually work? And most women I work with have been eating way lower than they actually need to in order to lose body fat and get results. So when we bring the calories up a little bit, now not into a surplus, like we can still be in a deficit, just not a crazy aggressive one, everything shifts. So let me walk you through the actual changes that are going to happen. One, your body is less stressed. You're not in survival mode. The calorie gap is still there. You're still in a calorie deficit. You're still losing body fat, but your body isn't fighting back as hard because the deficit isn't as extreme. Your energy improves. You can function like a human being. You don't hit a wall at 2 p.m. and you're not thinking about food every second of the day, and you're not as cranky around the rest of the family. If you know, you know. Your training improves, and this is a massive one. When you're fueled properly, you can train harder. You can push closer to failure. You can create a stimulus you need to build, or at minimum hold on to your muscle, and your sessions just feel better and better. 4, your NEAT goes back up. That non-exercise activity, the walking, the movement, the energy you have in the day, the fidgeting, that starts coming back up, and that has a bigger impact on your total calorie burn. So therefore, you actually are creating a better calorie deficit again. And this can have a huge impact on keeping your fat loss journey going. And then number 5, you can actually stay consistent. And this is probably the biggest one, because the best diet is the one that you can stick to, not the most aggressive, not the one that gets you the most phenomenal results in the shortest time possible, but then you rebound it all back on again. The one that fits your life and keeps you feeling, okay, let's show up day after day and let's try and keep going 1% better every day. But I'm actually able to stay consistent long enough to see results. And then when I get the results, I'm able to maintain them because I'm not just rebounding it all back on again because I got here through a really restrictive, hungry state. You're actually in this calm state where you're like, cool, let's get out of this deficit coolly and calmly. So I know what some of you are thinking, thinking as you listen to this, but Sammy, if I eat more, won't I lose slower? Maybe slightly technically, but probably not. Because here's what I want to zoom out and see. What is the point of losing faster if you can't sustain it? What is the point of hitting a number on a scale in 8 weeks if you're going to just put it all back on again because the approach is so miserable and unsustainable that as soon as the diet ends, you just rebound it all back on again because you go back to your normal unhealthy habits without focusing on building these healthy habits first. Results you can keep are better than results you can't. So in practice, here's what a smarter approach looks like. A moderate deficit. I'm talking 15 to 20% below your maintenance, which can often be 300 to 500 calories for most ladies, not 800 or 1,000, which means you're not going to have 1,200 calories. It's not necessary because a lot of women also underestimate what their actual maintenance calories are. And the reason why you underestimate what your maintenance calories are is because you're actually just not consistent eating them. You may go, I'm eating at my maintenance, but really it's like some days are 2,500, some days are 3,000, some days are 2,200. Like that ain't maintenance. Maintenance is hitting like within the same 100 calorie window consistently. And when you actually do that properly, you can build your maintenance calories up pretty damn high. So therefore, you do not have to go into a hectic deficit. And some people do need a bigger window, and some people can get away with a smaller window and see really amazing results. Okay, another one is high protein. Realistically, I think for most women that land somewhere between 130 to 160 grams a day is usually enough for most women. I'm just going to keep it simple, not make you do all the brain math. Somewhere in that range is usually pretty damn good. I can't tell you, I don't think I've ever programmed for a client, and I've been doing this for a very, very long time. Like I'm talking close to a decade in the fitness industry. And I have never programmed a woman over 160 grams of protein. So, somewhere between 120 to 160 grams or 130, 160 grams, somewhere around there is going to be a pretty banger starting point for you as a woman. Protein is going to keep you full, protect your muscles, and costs more calories to digest a little bit. So it's going to help increase your energy output a little bit. Not a huge amount to write home about, but every 1% can count. And then we also are going to do strength training, 3 to 5 sessions per week, training with real intention, structured program, implementing progressive overload, and actually pushing close to failure. This is what builds and protects the muscles that changes shape. You need the strength, you need the protein, and you need enough calories to actually be able to train. And then add in some daily movement, steps, walking, just keeping your non-exercise activity thermogenesis mode up, which is just like day-to-day life, because your body is burning way more energy through the movement across the day than you think. So it's really helpful to just keep that up nice and high. Have a desk job, get a walking treadmill, or do a little hot lap around the office every hour. Go to the furthest loo, park further away. Little things like that all really add up to having a banger high movement day. But really, it's not that complicated, and it doesn't require this crazy, I need to suffer to see results mindset, because honestly, you don't have to suffer. So here's what I want you to take away from this. More extreme is not more effective. Cutting your calories as low as possible is not the fast track. It's a shortcut that leads you right back to where you started. The women I see that get incredible lasting results, they're not starving. They're not miserable. They're not holding on for dear life every single day and just hoping for the best. They're the ones eating enough to fuel their training, enough to feel good, enough to stay consistent. And that consistency shown up over weeks and months is what's actually changing your body. 1% better every single day and focusing on progress over perfection. And that's where the results are. So hopefully this one has landed for you and it's made something click that's been confusing for a while. Please jump into Instagram and let me know. And if you do want a masterclass guide, just a free video that goes over how to get started on your fat loss journey with the simple steps like I've talked about in this podcast without anything too crazy and restrictive, then come to Instagram and just message me masterclass and I shall send you the link straight away. Thanks so much for listening. If you found this episode valuable, please rate, review, and subscribe. And I'd love if you shared this on your Instagram and tag me Sammy_livestrong. And if you'd like to learn more about my coaching and join the Project Livestrong family, please message me Livestrong on Instagram and I'll see how I can help. I'll see you next time.